It's gonna be this way. Swim so free.
The Capitol Hill to
Soccer bopper.
I know my parents loved me. Stand behind me, come what may. I know now that I'm ready, yeah. For I finally heard him say, it's a different world, ooh, than where you come from. The city is now, yeah. Here's our chance to make it.
Yeah.
Hey, and if we
What's up? How's it going? How's everybody doing? Good morning, evening, afternoon, whatever it is. This is another episode of Tune In Next Week. This is episode
30.
30?
30.
Holy moly. Can you believe it? And by you, I mean Brian. What's up, man?
Hey. How you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good, John.
Hey, man. Episode 30. Can you believe we made it this far?
I can dig it.
I can dig it. Man, that's awesome. And really thrilled to be doing yet another episode of this wonderful podcast called Tune In Next Week, where we talk about TV shows from yesteryear and our childhood, and we talk about them for fun.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing. And for those who may not recognize that theme song, that is, in fact, a theme song to a show called A Different World. And that show aired from 1987 to 1993, 6 seasons over 7 years, 144 episodes. Have you ever watched this show as you were growing up?
I have not. If it came on, I didn't pay any attention to it. I was actually recently, when we were talking about shows to do,
Yep.
I was surprised to hear about the show. I'd never heard of it. So if it did come up, if it did come up in my past, it did not register, which is crazy considering that I would spend most of my college years during the days that I had off, I would just binge watch The Cosby Show.
Yes, and this is a spinoff of The Cosby Show.
Exactly. And reading into this show that we're doing is in season 3,
right.
But what's interesting is that all the Cosby characters happened in season 1,
right.
And then there was no other characters that were connected to the Cosby Show except maybe, was it Whitley?
Yeah.
Whitley was like a sometime guest appearance on the Cosby Show.
Right, and so it almost sounds a lot like how they did the whole 90210 Melrose Place thing. Mm-hmm. You know, in the pilot episode of Melrose Place, there was a little bit of, there was some involvement of some of the kids. I forget who, but I know Brian Austin Green was on there, and Kelly and whatnot. Look at me mixing their actor names with their character names, but who cares? You know what I mean? But that guy and that girl and whatnot, there were some people from 90210 on the pilot of Melrose, so it wouldn't surprise me that, especially with Bill Cosby being so active in this particular show, because I think, didn't he help produce it as well, help write it or something? He
created it and he wrote a lot of it.
Makes sense. So yeah, it would make sense that there would be, some involvement of the Huxtable clan, before we get too far into the series. But because I remember seeing their name come up in a couple of the episodes when we were trying to pick which one to do. And I was like, that might be kind of interesting. But then again, I don't even recall if I've ever even watched a full episode of The Cosby Show.
Really?
Have you?
I have. I've watched lots of different iterations of The Cosby Show.
That might be a good one for us to do also.
I watched The Cosby Show. I've watched Cosby. There was another one that he did. It was kind of later on after Cosby and The Cosby Show that was kind of similar in style, but wasn't really in the same universe.
What about Different Strokes? Was that also him, or was that somebody else?
That's completely different. Those are white people.
No, it isn't.
Oh, no.
The Different Strokes is
right.
What you're talking about, Wilders.
Yes. You're right.
We got to do that one too.
Yes,
that was a cool show.
What was I thinking of?
Charles in Charge. I don't know.
No, I think I may have been thinking of Step by Step.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't know how I got those confused.
Yeah. Anyway, not to get too far off track before we even get into this.
Right.
So we're doing season 3, episode 17, and the name of the episode is "That's the Trouble with You All." Originally aired September Wow. February 22nd, 1990. I don't know what the hell September is. Yeah, so interesting episode for sure. But do we? Where can people watch this episode if they would like to watch the show that aired on September 22nd, February 22nd?
So you can still rent discs. You can still purchase discs from Amazon, and you can stream it on Hulu and Netflix, and you can also purchase digital copies on iTunes.
Right on. So this is one of the few shows that's actually available, in a lot of places.
Yeah.
Because some of the shows we did, you can only get, some of them have really sort of weird places where you can see them. But this one's pretty much everywhere.
Yeah.
That's cool. Speaking of something that has nothing to do with what we're talking about, business.
It's business time.
Is it that time? All right. Well, let's do it.
Crack it open.
All right. Shit, where's my business notes? I'll wing it. Fuck it. All right, as usual, we could not do what it is that we do when we do what we do without the guys at JB Recording when they do what they do. If you are looking for any voiceover production, music production, podcast production, or anything like that you might need a recording studio for, feel free to go over to www.jbrecording and contact them there, and they'd be happy to get you going. As far as the Tune In Next Week podcast, we are all over the web. If you want to listen to us, we are on iTunes, of course. We are on Podbean. We are also on SoundCloud at TuneIn_Next Week. You can also get us on the TuneIn app for your phone, or you can go to tunein.com and do a search for us, Tune In Next Week. Get all of our episodes up there. As far as connecting with us and chatting with us and getting all social with us on social media, you can go to Twitter, and our handle there is TuneIn_Next Week. We are also on Facebook now. You can go to facebook.com/TuneInNextWeek, all one word, and like our page on there and chat with us on there as well. We are also, our home base of operations is Tumblr. Website there, tunein-nextweek.tumblr.com. So, I think that's about it, right?
You forgot Instagram, which
I always forget Instagram. Yeah. I'm so sorry. Instagram is such a wonderful thing. We are on Instagram as well, TuneIn_Next Week, just like Twitter.
Just like Twitter.
That's it. And I think that's it.
Yeah. Let's conclude our business.
Let's do it. Let's slam the briefcase and get into our episode. Beautiful. Cool. So, you want to kick it off? You want to kick it off?
I shall. This show begins with a title card, basically saying the name of the show, and then it goes through a continuous shot of different scenarios. So I really enjoyed this, and one of the pleasant surprises was the fact that Sinbad was in this. I love Sinbad. I don't care what anybody says. This guy is hilarious to me.
I agree completely. And I mean, there were two things that surprised me that I had forgotten about this show. Because I saw this show a little bit as a kid. It wasn't one that I, would write home about or anything, but it was something I've seen maybe, I don't know, a handful of episodes or so. But two things that I completely forgot that I was really, really super surprised with was, number one, Sinbad being in this, because he is hilarious. I agree with you. He's awesome. Number two, theme song sung by none other than Aretha Franklin.
I liked the theme song.
I did too. And you know me and my theme song opinions, but I love the theme song. And not to mention, I mean, this show has high budget written all over it, except for in the value of the production and like the way it looked.
Yeah, well,
because Sinbad's a big name comedian. Aretha Franklin's a big name recording star. So they've got two really big names right there. And then of course, with Bill Cosby behind it, that's probably, that probably explains a lot of how that went down.
Mm-hmm. The sets though seemed pretty run down though.
Yeah, pretty sparse.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, they clearly put their money into their talent, which I have no problem with.
No, the talent was awesome.
Yeah.
I loved most of the cast.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. But before we jump too far, we should do the plot synopsis of this.
Oh yeah. What is this about? What's going on here?
I have the one from IMDb up here, and it basically just says Whitley fixes Dwayne up with another girl, but then has trouble dealing with it.
Yes.
And there's another little mini side plot about a poker game, which we'll get to in a little bit. But that, most of the episode is about Whitley and Dwayne's angst.
This is a pretty sparse show in terms of plot, though.
Yeah.
I mean, there really, in most of the shows that we talk about, there isn't really more than 2 or 3, maybe more plot threads that kind of weave throughout the episode. But
Right.
this show, I mean, this episode felt kind of sparse. It just didn't feel like there was it was a lot of meat to it.
There wasn't a lot of meat, but I felt like it was kind of deep almost. And we saw that with a lot of different topics of the shows we were looking at, because when we were trying to pick the episode, obviously when we look for episodes to pick, because just a little side comment, when we try to figure out which podcast episode, which episode of the TV show we're going to do for the podcast, we try to find one with an interesting plot that we can talk about, because some shows have really memorable episodes that people talk about all the time. We may not want to pick that one because there may be something like a diamond in the rough that we could talk about. I had a hard time picking an episode of A Different World, because a lot of the ones that were ranked so high were kind of dark.
Yeah.
So this was kind of one of the ones that people had mentioned as being kind of fun, and I didn't hate it. I just didn't love the episode or the show. Yeah,
I would agree with you. I didn't hate it. I would be interested in. This is a great show to put on in the background if you've got people over and you just want to talk and just have something on in the background. This is a good show for that.
I agree.
Maybe a good show to clean the house to, do some laundry to.
Tune in next week. Top tip for you: if you're looking for good background entertainment to run the vacuum cleaner on, A Different World's going to be the one to do it.
This wasn't really a very engrossing episode. However, some of the other episodes that we looked at as possibilities, they seemed a little more heavy.
Yeah, and there may be moments where in between dusting off the chandelier or something, you might stop and stare at the TV for 5 minutes and just go, huh, and then go back to cleaning.
Yeah, I'd be interested to seeing those other episodes.
Yeah, definitely one to come back to. But anyway, so getting back into it, we interesting, really cool opening sequence, and I don't want to talk too much more about it, but I would recommend watch any episode really. The theme song does change. They had 3 different theme songs, or at least 3 different theme songs. Throughout the run of the show. Season 1 was different. Seasons 2 through 5 were different, and then season 6 was different. I could have those numbers slightly wrong, but screw fact checking. I just know there was 3 different theme songs. But the one that was on for most of it was the Aretha one that you heard at the top of this podcast, and definitely I think the best sounding of all 3 of them. But anyway, so watch the opening. It's pretty clever. It's kind of like this one continuous shot that kind of goes between different scenes. I thought it was very, very well done.
Did you see like a common thread in those scenes?
It was almost like them kind of growing up. Or almost like, because it ended with the whole graduation thing, which was weird to me because I would think that would be in the, beginning, and then they kind of show them growing older. I wasn't sure what the thread was. It just was kind of introducing the different characters.
At first it seemed random, but I liked it so much that I went back and watched it again. There was two things going on there. It was people studying and being distracted, and there was also the theme of the situation is typically related to the character in it. For example, the main girl in there, one girl is studying while the other girls are around her putting on makeup and chatting and this and that.
Okay.
The other one was the one kid studying with the glasses. Dwayne was studying while he was being distracted by a marching band coming through.
Right.
There was the military scene.
Right.
One of the characters in there is a professor at the school, but he is like an ROTC kind of guy. He's a military dude.
Yeah.
So there was him, and then people were kind of dressed in military garb and marching and things like that. The sporty guy, I forget his name. I think it's Ron Ross.
I think it was something like that.
I forget his name, but he was wearing a basketball uniform but being chased around by football players. So it was almost like school related and being distracted from what you're really trying to do.
And then it ends with them all graduating.
Yeah, so there was definitely like a school theme to it.
Okay.
To all of it.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and look at it again.
Well, I mean, the show takes place on a college campus.
Right.
So it makes sense.
Yeah.
But it also seemed random at the same time.
I agree. Yeah, I definitely agree. But let's get our feet wet in the episode here. So speaking of feet, we start out with
Put your feet out.
We're in Whitley's bedroom, and right off the bat, I was reminded of just how annoying Whitley's voice is.
You didn't like Whitley's voice?
Oh my! What are you doing, Dwayne? Like, she was so obnoxious. I couldn't stand her voice, man. You?
I hated it.
I was getting ready for you to be like, really? I loved her voice.
No, I hated her voice. I hated everything about her.
Dwayne, what are you doing, man?
It's like
I wasn't going to date you.
Her southern accent, it was worse than Urkel's voice. And Urkel has a pretty bad voice.
Right, but we know that that's not Julia White's real voice.
Oh, of course. And this cannot be this actress's real voice.
Sure as hell hope not.
It can't be.
It can't be.
It cannot be. No real person would talk like this on purpose.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
She didn't have a solid southern accent either. She would just float in and out of it. It was mainly southern, but
she was being way too Southern Belle, and she was not a Southern Belle.
And it was nasally and high pitched.
Oh my God!
Everything she said was in a whine.
Yes, and usually when I watch something, I'll watch it with the subtitles on, just in case I miss something. I needed the subtitles for her because I couldn't understand her half the time. I almost felt like she was speaking another language.
They make a joke about that. She says something to she orders 2 cappuccinos from a waitress, and her boyfriend has to say, "Oh, she meant 2 cappuccinos from."
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll get to that. Yeah.
So they're in her room, and basically Dwayne just kind of walks in.
She's like looking at pajamas and a pipe or something like that in a mirror. It's basically a present that she's buying for her current boyfriend. Dwayne comes in, and we pick up from conversation that he is her ex-boyfriend, but they're still very friendly.
Right. And
his outfit, I loved his outfit except for his glasses / shades.
Oh, I have a whole issue with those. But
okay.
He comes in, and he's kind of just making fun of her, and they're just kind of throwing a couple back and forth, and he's just kind of saying, he kind of seems a little down, and she's like, well, you know what can I do as a friend? And he's saying, oh, I don't like hearing that you were friends, because it seems like he still has the hots for her or something. And he's saying, well, I just want to meet somebody who's attractive, intelligent, church going, and who won't play hacky sack with my heart. That's way too generic. Isn't that what we all want?
It is what we all want, but there's weight to it when you put it out verbally like that. Somebody says, "What are you looking for in a girl?" Well, everybody's different. You just want to put out positive qualities that you're looking for in a person, and
right.
it really could be anybody. You could really be describing anybody, but the fact that you're saying it to your friend in the way that he does, I probably would have said the same thing. Yeah. I can see myself saying the same thing, minus the hacky sack, minus the church going, whatever.
Exactly. But I mean, even then, who would say, I want someone unattractive, stupid, who doesn't go to church, and who plays hacky sack with my heart? That's just so generic. It's like me saying, I want someone who's breathing. I mean, I get it, but I don't get it.
Well, I like that he said that the way
I want someone with a pulse.
Yeah. So I like the way that he said that. The way he said that.
Yeah.
Because it kind of she takes that and runs with it.
Yeah, and she's like, "Oh, I'm going to set you up." And he's like, "Oh no, I don't want you setting me up. I'd rather date Mike Tyson in a hair weave." I thought that was kind of funny.
I thought that was funny too. But this this is great. This
Yeah.
is great, and I don't know if you must have picked up on it. It was a line of dialogue, but later on in the show, this comes back. So this is actually like a life lesson. The show is passing out life lessons without even realizing it.
That was the I think the point of many of the episodes. But what is it that you're referring to?
I'm referring to, and we're going to jump around on this, and I don't care at this point.
Screw it, who cares?
So he's like, I want somebody who's nice, sweet, fine, whatever. She says, oh, well, I'll hook you up with one of my friends. No, I don't need your charity. That's fine. He said, no, let me hook you up with my friend Megan, whatever.
Well, we don't find that out until later who she hooks him up with. He just agrees reluctantly to be hooked up.
Right. My thing is, though, is that he's all down on it until she offers the hot friend, but then he's suspicious of it, and everybody says, listen, she is putting you out with somebody who's fine. Her ego won't let her give you somebody less attractive.
That's true. That's because it would look bad on her if she set him up with a scrub.
So all of you ex-boyfriends, all of you friend-zoned motherfuckers, if you take this episode to heart and apply these lessons, because if you put out, oh, I'm down on my luck, I want this, that, or the third, take advantage of that and learn from Dwayne in this show, because he gets exactly what he wants and he's able to turn it around and just throw it in her face when it backfires on her.
You kind of lost me.
Well, let's back up and let's go through this beat by beat and it will all become clear.
Well, okay. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I'm kind of wondering where you're going with this, because I'm still waiting for like the light bulb moment.
We'll get there. I'm excited about how this turned out for Dwayne.
Okay.
Not the end result, because it's for plot purposes. They have to keep the spark between Dwayne and Whitley going. But
right.
But I'm excited for what this show did with this. This is a common trope, and this is something that happens in real life too.
Sure.
And I've seen this happen, and this show really has answered this question, and I think it's an important lesson. So let's back up. Let me just reel us back in. Let's go through this beat by beat, and this, as the episode unfolds, so will my point.
Okay.
So we're back in the bedroom.
Yeah.
So she said,
we haven't left the bedroom yet.
We haven't left the bedroom yet. She says, "Let me hook you up with my friend." He's like, "No. I'll think about it, or you go and you do it," and he leaves the bedroom, right?
Right.
So that's that. The next scene is Sinbad.
Right, we're at the cafe.
We're at the college refectory or whatever, the cafeteria.
Right. And he's sitting down with Lisa, which I guess is his ex, and I forget who the other girl's name was.
Jalisa.
What?
Her name is Jalisa.
Jalisa? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll just call her Lisa.
Okay.
So they're sitting there, and then there's the other girl, and then the cook sits down, and they're like, well, we lost somebody in our poker game. We need another man to fill the spot. And Jalisa is like, hey, how about my friend so-and-so? She, or how about I can play, because, I can play poker. And they're kind of making this judgment. They're saying, well, no, we want a man to play because poker's a man's game. And it gets into this sort of, that gets into this somewhat heated discussion of, well, that's so typical of a man to make that kind of a chauvinistic judgment call and blah, blah, blah.
They ridicule her about that, and she just comes right back at him.
Yeah, and she basically says, okay, well, you're gonna put your money where your mouth is, and she makes a bet with him, and she says, and she finds this random dude walking by, Kobe, and who he looks like a very clean cut preppy, almost like Carlton from Fresh Prince.
Yeah.
And she says, have you ever played poker? He goes, no. So she bets Sinbad that he can't teach this kid to play poker in 2 days. And I think then Sinbad makes the same bet with Jalisa and the other girl.
Yeah, he he bets that she can't find somebody or one of her friends to teach poker with. So they basically they say, all right, the bet is we'll take
we'll take a complete newbie and make him a poker player,
and we'll beat you. Our side will beat boys will beat girls, and
girls will beat boys. That was their same thing.
Yeah.
Battle of the sexes.
Sinbad has a couple of great jokes in here. The first one, he says, it's like, Jaleesa says, well, why can't women play poker? Do you have something against women? And then Sinbad says, I love women. I respect women. I have a mama. The next thing he says when they make the bet, he says, I'll teach Stevie Wonder to beat every woman on campus, and then I'll write a song about it.
I love Sinbad.
I love him too. He's the goddamn best.
Yes, he is.
Do you watch At Midnight?
No.
It was a show hosted by Chris Hardwick. It's like an internet trivia show.
Yeah.
It's very, very funny. Sinbad was on it a couple weeks ago.
Oh, nice.
He didn't win, but...
No. Did you see House Guest? With him and Phil Hartman?
No.
Classic. Oh, man. Classic movie.
Oh, man. I got to...
Yeah. So tune in next week. Vintage movie tip. Definitely check out House Guest. It's a great movie with Sinbad and Phil Hartman.
Right.
Hilarious.
I'll check that out.
Anyway, back to this. So... Where are we at now? We just finished over at the
So the bet has been made. The boys boys and girls set up a game where they teach a newbie, and then they have to play against each other. So the next scene is a teacher, and I think it's the
military guy.
The military guy.
But he's not in his military garb.
No.
But he spots Dwayne looking kind of down, and he's like, "Hey, what's going on? Lay it on me." And Dwayne's like, hey, there's this girl that we were together. Now we're just friends, and she wants to set me up. And I think his advice to him was right on. He's like, hey, go on the date. And this is where he said, her ego will not, her ego will save you.
Exactly. So
this makes a lot of sense.
It makes a ton of sense. So this is where, the teacher says, "What's going on?" He lays it out for her, and the guy basically gives him that advice: go on this date. And everything that he says, well, I just asked my friend about this, and he said the same thing. It's like, well, you've got to go on the date because the ego won't let her set you up with somebody less hot than her,
right?
And the friend said the same thing. It's like, well, why are you moaning about this? Go on the date.
Yeah.
So he just needed, I guess, just confirmation.
Yeah, a little reinforcement.
Didn't really understand why Dwayne was so down on this.
Yeah, I mean, because he still has feelings for Whitley, but obviously Whitley's got another boyfriend. So I mean, he's got to move on. And the best thing, and even the army guy said to him, he's like, you know what? You got to show her you can move on too.
She moved on.
Right.
Show her that you can move on.
Exactly.
And that is the first. That's my first point.
Yeah.
If she moves on, show her that you can move on.
Right.
And then the second point, which is brilliant, her ego won't let her set you up with somebody less than her.
Right.
Use that to your advantage.
Yeah.
Because she's setting you up with somebody as good, if not better than her.
Right.
So jump on it.
Yeah.
But what if she's a dog? Well, if she's a dog, then just break it off, and no one's really lost.
Yeah, exactly. He has nothing to lose at this point.
Yeah, he's got nothing to lose.
Right. So now we go over to the two girls in the dorm room, and it was Jaleesa and I forget the other girl's name.
I don't know her name either.
But Curly. We'll just call her Curly because she had curly hair.
Right.
So she's teaching her how to play, and nothing much happens in there. They kind of just make fun of the men a little bit and being like, I couldn't believe those men were making those comments like that, thinking women can't play poker and blah blah blah. So they're just kind of lamenting about that. Nothing really happened in that scene.
They make a generalization joke like, oh, how could men make generalization, make sweeping generalizations like that? It's a hard word to say.
Yeah.
And then the girls make a sweeping generalizing statement about men.
Right.
And that's the joke.
Yeah, that's it. So not much happened there. So now we're over at Sinbad's teaching Kobe how to play, and that's not exactly going very well. Kobe doesn't seem like he's picking up on what... Pardon me. He doesn't seem like he's picking up on very much anything.
He hasn't seen a deck of cards before in his life.
Yeah, exactly. He didn't even know what face cards were. But anyway, now we're out on the date. And Dwayne looks like he's having a great time, kind of laying on the charm real thick. and Whitley and her boyfriend walks in. I literally wrote here, Whitley walks in, she needs subtitles. I didn't have a clue what she said.
First off, the coincidence that they walked in on the same dinner and movie dates is kind of crazy to
I thought
me.
they planned that.
I don't know, because she was shocked.
Yeah.
She was not expecting to see them there.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, I mean, it would be convenient because of it being a TV show.
Of course, it's convenient for the plot and all, but I love that it happened.
Yeah.
If that would have happened in real life, then more is the better.
Exactly. And that looked so fancy. You know, that looked like they were in a house.
Yeah.
You know, it was a very formal, fancy, like living room type of suite, you know, and then a server came out and said your table is ready. So they were obviously in some kind of expensive restaurant.
They kept talking about a show, so I was under the assumption that they were having dinner first and then going to see a movie. Mm-hmm. But when they came back from the date, they were talking about dancing. So maybe they had gone out dancing afterwards, or
yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But before we get there, could you tell there was some tension between the two couples?
Oh, yeah, dude.
It was so obvious. And Whitley started making such an ass of herself, making comments to Dwayne's date, just being like, that dress is kind of tight. You can't make it to the gym every day.
I think it was all Whitley. It wasn't
was
Dwayne.
all Whitley.
It was all Whitley.
Completely.
Dwayne was comfortable in his own skin. Dwayne was comfortable with his date. And
Whitley's boyfriend was just mortified the whole time.
Yeah, as I would have been.
Me too. And then, Dwayne says, hey, let's go to this club after dinner. Whitley says, oh, there's going to be snow in the forecast.
Oh,
and
that's right,
Then
yes.
Dwayne goes, well, I know how to keep a lady warm in the snow.
Yes, yeah, I like
of course,
that.
every 5 minutes, the crowd, the audience in the studio audience says, woo,
Right.
like craziness.
So this is perfect because
Right.
Whitley can't stand it.
Right.
Her
She
plan.
can't stand that Dwayne's having a great time.
Now, I didn't pick this up in the beginning because this just seemed like normal things that girls do.
Right.
But she set him up on this date and just didn't expect him to, just didn't want to see him with the date. So my thing is, why would you friend zone somebody and then set them up on a date and then get all jealous and bent out of shape when you see them on the date?
Right, or spy on them when they go on the date.
Right. So I understand that they didn't intend to go on a double date. It was just a coincidence that they happened to be in the same place.
Right.
But you're getting yours now, Whitley, because if you were... Well, let me put this to you. Do you think it took the date for her to realize how much she liked Dwayne?
Yes.
You think it took that?
I think so. Or I think just seeing him with another woman made her realize, with the whole, you don't know what you've got till it's gone. She lost Dwayne now, so she's realizing what life is like without Dwayne.
To my glee, though, too bad, so sad, Dwayne's out on a date with a hot one.
Right.
And you enjoy yourself with Jermaine or whoever your date is.
Yeah. Did we ever get his name or no?
I may have just got it.
Okay.
Whatever. I don't care.
Whatever.
It's not important.
Screw fact checking. So anyway, so now we are. Now we're back at their place.
Yeah, we're back at the dorm.
And Whitley and boyfriend get back, and he's like, "Oh, I had a great time." Kissy kissy. And then Dwayne and Megan get back, and they're like, "Oh, we were tearing it up. It was a great night." Blah 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 blah. And Whitley is just seething.
Yes.
She can't stand it.
Can't stand it.
And I loved it.
I loved it too. I loved it too.
I loved this.
Because whether she knew it or not, Dwayne has always made it clear, hey, I still like you. I still have feelings for you. It's hard to be your friend in this situation, and she's not having any of it. I have a boyfriend now. I'm with him. Blah 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 blah. So Dwayne's like, all right then. Well, whatever. Leading up to now she is just beside herself. Her plan, whatever it was, is just crumbling down around her ears.
Right.
And Dwayne is coming out on top because her shit has backfired on her.
Right, and Dwayne is comfortable in his own skin, like you said before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So now we're over at the I guess we're back at the cafe. Oh no. We're at the poker game?
Yeah,
now?
The boys and the girls, they meet for poker, and
Right.
Jaleesa,
She's throwing down the rules.
she's throwing down the rules, which is fine. I mean, it's easy to memorize the rules, I guess. Did you notice her shuffling and her card cutting skills?
No.
She did just a regular like riffle shuffle, but then she cut the deck one-handed.
Oh yeah, that
and
takes
then,
skill.
And then she put it down and
yes,
spread the deck, and she is
A card shark.
she's a card sharp. Not a shark necessarily, but she's skilled with a deck of cards.
Okay. Yeah, I thought that was pretty fun.
Yeah, that was
But
awesome.
they start out with the poker game, and the girls are starting to win right off the bat, and I was like, oh, I know this is not going to go well for Sinbad.
Right.
But we're back at the cafe now, and
Yeah, this is Dwayne and Ren. His name is Ren.
Ren, okay.
His friend Ren, who wears the fedora or whatever.
Yeah. So he's sitting there, and of course, Whitley comes in, and she's being all diva-ish and giving Dwayne such a big cold shoulder. And I forget who says this, but someone says, wow, why are you being so cold? You could freeze a side of beef with that cold shoulder.
That was Ren, and I loved that line.
Yeah.
So now, for whatever reason, and maybe you can shed some light on this, maybe not, but Dwayne is down on his dates. He just doesn't want to see Megan again.
I guess he maybe still, his feelings for Whitley are still there. Maybe he had a great time with Megan, but it just didn't work out or something. Did we ever find out what happened between the two of them? Or did he call it off?
I don't know. I got the impression that she called it off.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't remember what happened, but I do remember him being kind of down. But
Ren gives Dwayne a pep talk. He's like, listen, you were brought down by this girl. You were brought down by Whitley. Don't cool your jets on this one. If you really liked her, go for it.
Right.
And Dwayne's like, you know what? You're right. I needed this talk. Thank you. I'm gonna see if I can make it work.
Right.
With the girl I like.
Yeah.
Which is important. And this is where I think it fails for me.
Yes.
Because the next scene, well, actually, the very next scene, we find out Sinbad, the character's name is Walter, but Sinbad is getting spanked at poker.
Oh, yeah.
So hard that he's lost all of his money. He's going all in on, they do a 10-card draw, and their students, I guess, Kobe and the other girl, Winfrey, they decide to get up and walk out and buy pizza with the winnings that Jaleesa got from Sinbad. But she's putting him down.
Yeah, he is going to the poorhouse for sure.
So, but the next scene after that, though, we have Dwayne walking into Whitley's dorm room,
which looked completely different.
Did it?
She had a different bedspread. And I think there were some things that were different. Like, it took me a minute to realize that it was her room. It wasn't obvious.
I didn't notice any of that. I was focused on the interaction, but that's interesting.
I'd have to go back and double check, and again, screw fact checking. But to me, it felt different. There was something significantly different that it wasn't obvious to me at first that it was her dorm room. I could be wrong, but who cares?
I know that not a lot of time has passed in the course of this episode, but maybe it was like
maybe it was day, and that was last time he was there. It was night. Maybe that was the difference.
But if she's changing her bed sheets, though, maybe it was just like that day. It's time for bed sheet changing, or maybe she ruined it by sleeping with Jermaine. Yeah.
Who knows? Anyway,
get all sopping wet.
Wow.
Finish on the sheets.
I love jerking you guys around.
Yeah, anyway. Anyway, so Dwayne shows up, and he comes up with these rules.
Yeah, which
was so stupid.
If we're going to be friends, remain friends, here are some rules for our friendship. No talking about love lives. No setting each other up because we can't stand it. Blah, blah, blah. Whitley tries to come up with a rule also.
And her rule is friends don't give each other rules.
Yeah. Which
I actually agree with.
Yeah, I like that rule.
Yeah, Brian, by the way, in order for us to be friends, I have to give you a couple of rules.
Is the first one no rules?
Yes.
Then continue.
Yeah, I mean, how stupid is that, really? I mean,
It's
why do
pretty
you need to
dumb.
have? I mean, I wouldn't call them rules. I mean, because I'm sure there's things that you kind of like, you just kind of talk about, but with your friends, like if it's, hey, if you want to rip on me, that's cool, but don't rip about blah blah blah, and it's like just kind of an understanding that you have,
Right.
but it's not like this official document or official rules,
Right.
So I thought that whole scene was annoying, but and then the whole thing with him trying to get her to kiss him, that was weird to me.
It was weird. I didn't like it. He was trying to weasel a kiss out of her, but what his true intention was to get her riled up sexually to expect a kiss, and then he just gave her a peck on the cheek and just kind of left her blue-balled.
Yeah, and he was like,
more.
"Hey, see ya, buddy."
Yeah. So I was well done on his part.
Yeah.
I see what he was doing.
Okay.
But the scene in general, I don't like their relationship.
I don't either.
Yeah.
And I'm sure later on in the series it gets a little more obvious.
Right.
But anyway, so now we're back to the dorms, and Jaleesa standing out in the hallway. I loved this scene. And she's like, "Walter, thank you very much. It was nice doing business with you," or whatever she said. And then Walter walks out wearing her bed covers as his clothing, and roll credits.
Because she's wearing his hat and she's wearing his sweater around her neck also.
Right.
And
so
yeah.
she beat the pants off of him in that poker game, and and he lost, and it was
glorious.
It was awesome, and roll credits.
Yeah, and the ending credit sequence was just scenes from the episode. It
Yeah.
wasn't really anything
Nothing special.
nothing special.
Yeah. So interesting episode. Highlights and lowlights, my friend. Why don't I start out with my highlight?
Tell me what your highlight was for this episode.
I dug the theme song, man.
Oh man, I couldn't have guessed.
Yeah, I mean, I was just trying to think of something that I really liked throughout the whole episode, and kind of like I was telling you before we started, the whole episode felt very meh to me. So the best part about the episode, in my opinion, was the theme song. I do like, older R&B and that type of music. I'm definitely an Aretha Franklin fan, so to me the highlight of the episode was the theme song. If I really did have to pick something from the episode as a highlight,
I might require that from you.
I had a feeling you would. I would actually say Dwayne would be my highlight because of how he kept his cool throughout, all the shenanigans that went on there, and people gave him really good advice about going out and taking a risk, and with going out with the girl that Whitley set him up with, and despite Whitley being a bitch and acting the way she did, Dwayne still kept his cool, and he always took the high road, and he always had some good comebacks, and so his handling of Whitley in this episode would be my highlight, but the theme song was my real highlight.
He's very smooth.
He is.
Very smooth character.
Very much so. But what about you? What was your highlight, good sir?
My highlight, if it wasn't obvious from the way I prattled on and on and on about it through the whole episode, was Dwayne's taking advantage of Whitley's unintentional plan. I believe that Whitley still has, I know Whitley still has feelings for Dwayne, but wants to move on from that relationship.
Right.
So her way to do that was to set him up with one of her friends.
Right.
And the actual highlight was Dwayne actually following through with it, where she expected him not to and just wallow in it.
Yeah.
My highlight was him following through with it and putting her in her place. The scene in the dorms after the date where their respective dates left for the night and him and Whitley had that confrontation, he threw it all back in her face.
Right.
He told her exactly how it was, and just kind of danced out of there, danced out of the dorm room, and she kind of calls after him like, "You're not doing it right," and he looks back smooth as shit and just says, "Yeah, but I'm still doing it."
Yeah, totally.
I loved that.
Yes. Awesome.
So, yeah, my highlight is the life lesson.
Yes.
I'm telling you, if you're friend zoned or if you're in a shitty relationship and somebody sets you up on it, take advantage of it.
Yes.
Just take a risk, do it, and
Yeah.
Totally live it up.
All right.
My lowlight.
What was your lowlight, good sir?
The worst part of this episode for me was the character of Whitley. Primarily her voice.
I agree.
Primarily her voice, but also how she carried herself.
What's wrong? Why didn't you like her voice?
Oh my god, because it was high-pitched nasally, it
sorry.
not...
Why didn't you like her voice? What's wrong with her voice?
I wish I was more clever and had something awful to compare her to, but...
She sounded like Fran Drescher.
That's not a bad comparison,
Yeah.
though that would be insulting to Fran Drescher. I like Fran Drescher.
Good point.
I like Fran Drescher. Do you remember Janice from Friends, Chandler's girlfriend / on again, off again?
I don't think so. No.
She had a voice very similar to Whitley and Fran Drescher, and she had a pretty terrible laugh also.
Okay.
But yeah. Awful person, awful character. I thought she got her comeuppance, and yeah, she was the worst part of the episode for me.
Okay.
You, sir, what is your low light?
My low light is Dwayne's glasses.
His glasses.
His glasses. Dude, if you want to wear sunshades, wear sunshades. If you want to wear regular glasses, wear regular glasses. If you want to wear shades and fold them up and just look through the empty frames all day, you're a tool.
Were they glasses or were they empty frames, though?
I did not see glass there. I could be wrong. They could have been regular glasses with the sunshades flipped up. But to me, it looked like they were empty frames.
I'm looking at screenshots right now.
Do you see glass?
I can't see glass. They look like empty frames.
Yeah. And that's what, I mean, I've been a glasses wearer my entire life. So, you know, you can usually spot when someone's wearing empty frames. Now, his frames were very thin. So it's tough to tell whether there's glass in there or not. My guess would be they wouldn't put glass in there because it would reflect all the stage lights from the sets.
I've got 4 different pictures of him right now.
Right.
Only one of them has glass in it.
Yeah.
See this one right here.
Yes.
So
yeah, I can see it on that one, but I'm not 100% certain that he was wearing regular glasses in the regular thing. To me, it looked like he was wearing empty frames with sunshades flipped up.
flip them down, dude. Flip them down.
It was so stupid.
Look like a tool.
I hated that look, and I literally wanted to reach through the TV and rip his glasses off. But yeah, that was my low light, and thus that brings us to the end.
Yeah,
of our episode.
I think we've covered it all. I don't have anything else.
No, that's it. And as always, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Let us know your thoughts. Shoot us a message on Twitter, #DifferentWorld. Let us know what you thought. And if there's any shows you want us to do, reach out to us. Let us know. Please like our page on Facebook. We would love you forever. We definitely mean that. And also, any fun messages that you send to us, we will read them on our next podcast recording. So, you can be famous by getting in touch with us and sending us some cool messages. And always, we would appreciate if you just go ahead and tune in next week. Who knows what's going to happen on the next episode?
Tune in next week.
And
bye, bitches.
That's it.
I know my parents loved me. Stand